Welcome to History with Herodotus, where we delve into the vast expanse of human experience and uncover the fascinating stories that have shaped our world. Today, we embark on a journey to ancient India to explore one of the most pivotal battles in history, the Battle of the Hydaspes, which took place in 326 BC. This epic clash between the armies of Alexander the Great and King Porus of Paurava would prove to be a defining moment in the conquests of the legendary Macedonian king. As we transport ourselves to the banks of the Hydaspes River, we find ourselves in the midst of a vibrant and ancient civilization where the air is thick with the scent of spices and the sounds of bustling markets. It was here that Alexander's campaign to conquer the Persian Empire had brought him, after a series of victories that had left his army invincible and his reputation unshakable. To understand the events leading up to this pivotal battle, we must first turn our gaze to the rise of Alexander himself. Born in 356 BC in the Kingdom of Macedon, Alexander was the son of King Philip II, a brilliant military strategist who had unified the fractious city-states of Greece under his rule. From a young age, Alexander was tutored by the great philosopher Aristotle, who instilled in him a love of learning and a thirst for adventure. As Alexander came of age, he succeeded his father as king and set out to fulfill his ambition of conquering the Persian Empire, which at that time stretched from the Indus River to the Mediterranean Sea. With an army of battle-hardened warriors, Alexander swept across Asia Minor, leaving in his wake a trail of defeated kingdoms and cities. One of the key figures who would play a crucial role in the events leading up to the Battle of the Hydaspes was King Porus of Paurava. A powerful and wise ruler, Porus had inherited a kingdom that stretched along the banks of the Hydaspes River and was known for its fertile plains, dense forests, and mighty elephants. As Alexander's army approached the borders of his kingdom, Porus prepared to defend his territory against the invader, aware that a defeat would mean not only the loss of his kingdom, but also the subjugation of his people. Alexander's army, with its disciplined phalanx formation and lightning-fast cavalry, was a force to be reckoned with, while Porus's army, with its war elephants and skilled archers, was equally formidable. As the two armies prepared for battle, the air was electric with tension, and the fate of empires hung in the balance. In the months leading up to the battle, Alexander's army had been marching through the sweltering heat of the Indian summer, facing numerous challenges and obstacles along the way. The soldiers had to contend with treacherous terrain, raging rivers, and hostile tribes, all while maintaining their discipline and cohesion as a fighting force. Meanwhile, Porus was busy mobilizing his own army, gathering his warriors and preparing his defenses. He knew that the key to victory lay in exploiting the weaknesses of Alexander's army, particularly its vulnerability to the war elephants that were a hallmark of Indian warfare. As the two armies drew closer, the sound of drums and trumpets filled the air, and the earth trembled beneath the feet of the warriors. As the two armies faced each other across the Hydaspes River, the tension was palpable. Alexander's army, numbering around 40,000 soldiers, was arrayed in its characteristic phalanx formation, with the companion cavalry on the wings. Porus's army, estimated to be between 20,000 to 30,000 strong, was deployed behind a screen of war elephants, their trunks and tusks glinting in the sunlight. The battle began with a series of skirmishes between the two armies as Alexander's cavalry probed the defenses of Porus's army. The Indian king, aware of the vulnerability of his infantry to the Macedonian phalanx, had instructed his war elephants to advance and disrupt the enemy lines. As the elephants lumbered forward, their trumpeting filled the air, and the ground shook beneath the feet of the soldiers. Alexander, anticipating this move, had ordered his archers and slingers to target the elephants, aiming for their sensitive eyes and trunks. The barrage of projectiles rained down on the elephants, causing them to become enraged and unpredictable. Some of the beasts turned back on their own lines, causing chaos and destruction among Porus's infantry. Meanwhile, Alexander's companion cavalry, led by Hephaestion and Perdiccas, launched a series of charges against the Indian cavalry, attempting to outflank and encircle them. The Indian horsemen, however, were skilled and agile, and they managed to evade the Macedonian attacks, striking back with their long lances. As the battle raged on, The war elephants continued to play a crucial role, advancing and retreating in a seemingly chaotic manner. One of the elephants, its trunk severed by a Macedonian spear, stumbled forward, causing panic among the Indian infantry. The soldiers, attempting to flee from the enraged beast, were cut down by the Macedonian phalanx, which advanced relentlessly behind a wall of long spears. Porus, observing the chaos unfolding before him, realized that his army was on the brink of collapse. He ordered his remaining war elephants to form a defensive line, protecting his infantry from the advancing Macedonians. The Indian king himself fought bravely, mounted on one of the largest and most majestic elephants, its tusks gleaming with gold and ivory. As the day wore on, the battle became increasingly intense, with both sides suffering heavy losses. Alexander's army, however, seemed to be gaining the upper hand, its discipline and training allowing it to maintain a cohesive line in the face of the chaotic Indian attack. The Macedonian king, aware that the outcome of the battle was far from certain, rode among his troops, urging them on and directing their attacks. In the midst of the chaos, a remarkable scene unfolded. One of Alexander's soldiers, a young Macedonian named Herodotus, found himself facing a giant Indian war elephant, its tusks mere inches from his face. With a calm and steady hand, Herodotus reached out and grasped one of the elephant's tusks, holding on for dear life as the beast thrashed about, attempting to shake him off. The young soldier's bravery was rewarded when the elephant, finally exhausted, collapsed to the ground, allowing Herodotus to emerge victorious, his armor dented but unbroken. As the sun began to set on the battlefield, casting a golden glow over the carnage, it became clear that the tide of the battle had turned in favor of the Macedonians. Porus's army, though still fighting valiantly, was beginning to falter, its lines weakening as the war elephants fell or retreated. Alexander, sensing victory within his grasp, ordered his phalanx to advance, aiming to deliver the final blow to the Indian army. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a bloody orange glow over the battlefield, Alexander's phalanx delivered the final blow to Porus's army. The Indian king, realizing his situation was hopeless, rallied his remaining troops and prepared for a last stand. However, it was too late, and soon the Macedonian cavalry surrounded him, cutting off any escape routes. According to the ancient sources, Porus, despite being wounded, refused to surrender, and it was only when Alexander himself approached him, impressed by his bravery, that he finally yielded. The Battle of the Hydaspes had been a brutal and bloody conflict, with both sides suffering heavy losses. However, in the end, it was Alexander's superior tactics, training, and discipline that had won the day. The Indian army, though valiant, had been no match for the battle-hardened Macedonians. As the dust settled, Alexander ordered his troops to tend to the wounded and bury the dead, while he himself went to meet Porus. The two leaders met in a dramatic encounter, with Alexander reportedly asking Porus how he wished to be treated. Porus, with characteristic dignity, replied that he should be treated like a king. Alexander, impressed by his courage and nobility, not only spared his life, but also reinstated him as the ruler of his kingdom, albeit as a vassal of the Macedonian Empire. The Battle of the Hydaspes marked a significant turning point in Alexander's conquest of India. It had been a fiercely contested battle, but ultimately it had paved the way for the Macedonians to advance deeper into the subcontinent. However, it also marked a shift in Alexander's strategy, as he began to adopt more diplomatic and conciliatory approaches to dealing with the local rulers. In the years that followed, Alexander's empire continued to expand, but the Battle of the Hydaspes remained an important milestone. It had been a testament to the bravery and martial prowess of both the Macedonians and the Indians, and it would be remembered for centuries to come as one of the greatest battles of the ancient world. Today, the Battle of the Hydaspes is still studied by historians and military strategists around the world. It is seen as a prime example of the importance of adaptability, tactics, and leadership on the battlefield. As the ancient Greek historian Arrian noted, Alexander's victory at the Hydaspes was not just a triumph of arms, but also a testament to his ability to inspire loyalty and devotion in his troops. The legacy of the Battle of the Hydaspes can be seen in the many works of art, literature, and architecture that it has inspired over the centuries. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.